let me know.
Kent, the press conferences tomorrow, are they under the press conference thing in the media hub, or is that just for already recorded?
Great question, Joey. I don't know. One last request regarding ability to record. I think I've got everybody's. If not, speak up so you can do that. Yeah, Matt makes a good point. There's a link to a Google spreadsheet with all the links attached to it that I think that you should be able to find those links to the post-game pressers. And those will be moderated by somebody from the NCAA from the tournament. Oh, there's Derek. All right.
Hang on, stand by. Our guys are walking into the room for film, and we'll get Coach sat down and get started.
All right.
Yeah, how are you doing on record credentials and all that?
We should have everybody should be ready to go. So we are lined up. Scott Ritchie is going to be our leadoff hitter. And who we got first? Is it Coach Underwood first? Or Trent?
It's Coach. It's
Okay.
Coach. Yeah.
All right. So we'll go Scott. Matt Reebok from New Jersey. Austin. Brandon. Down the line there. So we'll go long. We got 30 minutes, right, Derek? Or are we still saying 30 minutes, or are we going to the bottom of to 4:30? Do we have a little extra time?
You have a little more than 30 because the guards have 30 minutes of film, and since we're starting a little late, Trent won't be available anyway, so you can
Okay.
a little bit with Coach.
You just let me know.
Okay. And there's just not much I can do, Ken, about that street because like our team room is being used for film. So see that light?
Yeah.
It's just that
Yeah.
it didn't change it. So sorry.
I can't.
Hi, Coach. Did you smile in the team picture?
I did. I actually
All right.
took one with a serious face as well.
Okay, everybody has to. That happens in athletics. Everybody has to have a serious photo.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we've got a large group. We'll go ahead and get started with. We'll just start off with questions, Coach. And
Yep.
unless you have something that you want to say at the front end.
Nope, we're good.
Okay,
go.
we'll start off Scott Ritchie leading off, and then we'll go to Matt from New Jersey and Austin from Philadelphia. So go ahead, Scott.
Hey, Brad. Since we've got Trent up, later, I mean, you've got this relationship with him that goes back to when he was in high school. You were at SFA. To see maybe as far as he's come, and maybe that he's stuck around, through some rough times at Illinois, and to be here, kind of what does that maybe mean for to you to kind of see the guy that was one of the first to buy in, see that payoff.
Well, I think it speaks volumes to his character. It wasn't easy, and he had a sensational freshman year. I mean, he was a guy that was our go-to guy as a freshman, and but his game has evolved. He's become literally a complete player, not just a scorer. To see him here as a senior, having won a Big Ten championship, having made it to the NCAA tournament. Obviously, we would have been in last year, but it's gone a full circle, and you know, he's been a very, very stable piece of our process of growing this program. And you know, he and DeMonte have been huge in that area. They're great character guys. They're great people. And, you know, we've built with them and around them.
I mean, maybe, in those first 2 years, just what were the conversations with him like? Or just maybe, it was rough, but like you said, you were trying to build to, what it's eventually become.
Well, I think, there was a lot of growing moments. I mean, there was a lot of, he missed some free throws at the end of games we could have won. He had a, turnover. He hit big shots to win some games. Getting him to buy in on the defensive end, and yet, he's never wavered. He's been on board. He's been about winning from the day he got here, and he's been bought into our process, and he's worked extremely hard to become the player he is.
Thanks, Brad.
Hey, Matt from New Jersey, you're up, and then we'll go to Austin from Philadelphia on deck.
Thanks, Kemp. Hey, Coach Matt Reebok, NJ Hoopers. What are your expectations for Georgi Bezhanishvili during this tournament, and how can he help your team make a deep run and compete for a championship?
Well, he was just instrumental in helping us win a championship game in the Big Ten. And, Georgie's the ultimate team guy, a guy that had such an incredible freshman year, broke our scoring record as a freshman, and then has been, we've yo-yoed him back and forth between the 4 and the 5 these last 2 years with Kofi. But he's such a high intellect in terms of his basketball IQ, his feel of the game. And Georgie's an invaluable piece because he can really score it. And then he's been a very, very solid defender for us as well.
Okay, we'll go to Austin and Philadelphia, and then Brandon Simberg on deck.
Hey, Brad. Hope you're doing well. So when you look at Drexel and you look at the film on them, what do you see from them on the offensive end as well as the defensive end?
A very well coached team. Obviously, they're a team that they know exactly what they're trying to get every possession down the court on the offensive side, and they execute extremely well. I've been very impressed with how hard they play. I think they're a team that, even though they start freshman and sophomore, that they have a vast amount of knowledge. Their go-to guys are upperclassmen, so they rebound the ball great, and they've got all the makings of a team that is deserves to be here, and so I've been very, very impressed in watching them.
And on their offensive end, they can kind of stretch it out. Their big guy, James Butler, he's about 6'8". He can knock down a shot. Does that present any challenges for you, especially with having Kofi kind of man the inside?
Yeah, it's something we've seen the last two games with Luka Garza being a 3-point threat, and then EJ Liddell, is a stretch 5 as well. Both those guys first team all league guys. So, it's very similar. Their point guard is elite. He does a great job. He's, you put those two together and ball screens, and they can cause you some problems.
Thanks, Brad. Take care.
Thank you.
Okay, Brandon, you're up. Alec on deck. Go ahead, Brandon.
Hey, Brad, what has this week been for you with NCAA tournament protocols and things like that? What kind of things have you been doing this past week?
It's been great. I mean, it's been not anything really out of the norm from what we've been doing. I think we had the day of the 24-hour quarantine, and to be honest, for us, it was much needed. I mean, it was a 3 games in 3 days in the Big Ten tournament. We were tired. After that, our guys slept and rested their bodies, and we did some just nothing. I mean, watch film and got caught up on our next opponent, and watched a little Netflix every now and then. And other than that, it's been great.
And then much has been made of the food that you guys are eating on the internet. What is your kind of assessment of the food that the NCAA has provided for you so far?
It's been great. We haven't had a problem. I mean, ours has been off the chart. Our like I said, it's been we haven't had any, not one of our guys has complained. I mean, we just had an unbelievable hamburger, chicken, salad, pasta lunch. Breakfast has been, we usually have an omelet station at our breakfast. We don't have that, but everything else has been great. I mean, it's been awesome.
Thanks, Brad.
Okay, Alec, you're up, and then Andre Monroe on deck. Go ahead.
Thanks, Kent. Hey, Coach, you've been in the NCAA tournament a few times yourself personally, but of course, some of your players have been. What kind of level of importance is it to have experience on the players' side? But I guess also, how do you kind of balance the leadership that you have in your locker room from your seniors with no tournament experience?
Yeah, we've just, we've talked to them. Orlando's been to a few Final Fours, and we've got experience. Jent's been to a lot. Myself been to a lot, and so it's just talking them through. The game is the game, and that's not going to differ once we step on that court. It's a different uniform than what we've seen in the Big Ten, with a different name on the front, but it's still 5 guys that are out there trying to beat us, and we got to go compete. And we've talked about since early January. It's you got to win 6, and you got to bring it mentally every single day. And if you don't, you go home. And it's really that simple.
You were able to, I guess, overcome some adversity, letting Ohio State come back in the Big Ten Tournament Championship. How beneficial do you think that kind of experience could be as you head into this national tournament, of being able to overcome a run and still be able to get a win?
And they're good. Good teams make great runs, especially one that's, top 3 or 4 in the country offensively. I think it was great that we hung in the overtime. But again, we're very connected. Io DeSumo leads us. I mean, we were laughing and smiling in the timeout huddle right before we started the overtime, and our guys don't doubt. They don't have a question that they can win those games. And that was a high level basketball game that we hung on and found a way to win.
Okay, Andre Monroe, up, Joey Wagner on deck.
Hey, Coach, your team has been great on defense all season, but how important do you think it'll be playing defense to your success in the tournament?
It's what the tournament's all about. Great defense. It's what we pride ourselves on. It's what we've been working towards really since we made the change schematically a year ago, is figuring out how to win a game when you don't shoot the ball great. And that happens in postseason play. It happens in the NCAA tournament. I experienced that at SFA. And you got to find a way to win, and you do that with defense and rebounding and not turning the ball over. At the end of the day, that was instrumental in us winning the Ohio State game.
Okay, Joey Wagner, Jeremy Werner on deck. Go ahead, Joey.
Hey, Brad, it sounds like Tyler has really kind of gotten like a pseudo internship, I guess, from the coaching standpoint. He said he watched film with Stephen Gentry after the game on Sunday and has spent time with Zach and, all those guys. What have you seen that kind of opened the door for him? Obviously, that's something he wants to do down the line.
I think he's very cerebral. I think he understands the game. I think he's got a very advanced mind at his age, and so he gets it, and he understands what to look for. He understands the chemistry of a locker room. He understands people's moods and their dynamics and the chemistry piece. So it was great for him to have an opportunity to learn the schematics, learn how to break down film, learn how to put film together, learn how to do scouting reports and video, and he's learned all that this year. So it's been a win-win for our team as well as himself.
And it sounds like there's like an open baseball field nearby that you guys can spend some time at. I mean, do you plan on doing that? Have you, now that you've been in the bubble for a little bit, how's that going in terms of?
Yeah, I mean, we actually just got done taking a picture on a rooftop. It was so nice to just get a little fresh air, but that'll be all weather pending. It'll be all based on, today we had a midday, 1 o'clock practice. So it'll be based around that and the weather and so on and so forth. But yeah, we will try to get outside. In the meantime, we've been playing spike ball and throwing a football in our meeting room and doing some other things. So our guys are having a good time.
Thanks, Brad.
Okay, Jeremy up, Soupy on deck.
Hey, Brad, you shouted out Andres and Kipper. And obviously there's guys like Aaron Jordan and walk-ons that played for you. I know they're enjoying this and talking to a few of them. What do you want them to take away from this run that they weren't able to be a part of?
Yeah, I mean, they're as big a part of it as everybody in there. They're just not because their eligibility ran out. They just can't suit up. I wish they could and just feel that emotion and feel that energy. And they laid the groundwork and they were a big part of it. And I can't turn back time, but I can sure let them know that we're thinking about them and very appreciative for all they did.
And then you kind of talked about this a little bit, but does it feel different when you walk out on an NCAA tournament game? And how long does it take to adjust for the players and even the coaches?
No, it's different. I mean, when you get on the bus and you've got the police escorts and you're you walk out on that court and you see the diagram of the court and the outlay of it, and you're in some place that's pretty special. Not everybody gets to go to. So I think once the ball's thrown up, guys play. They hoop, and so that'll be a moment they need to understand and realize that they're in a different environment. It's pretty cool and pretty special, but yet you got to go play the game.
Thanks, Brad.
Okay, Soupy, you're up, and then Nico.
Hey, Coach, can you just talk us through whenever you came here to build a coaching staff, how'd you come across Orlando and Chin, and how important was it to get guys that had different recruiting areas?
Well, I think going back through that, the one thing that you try to do is find people that, for me, that you enjoy being around every day. And that's really, really important. I don't want to be around somebody because they can get me players, but I don't like them. They don't have anything in common with the culture that I'm trying to build or wanted to build. They're married, they've got kids, they've been through the battles. Orlando, I've known Orlando just from the road. I actually didn't know Chin as well, but as we continued to talk through the process, I continued to talk to people. He became very, very impressive, and and I wanted different. I wanted everybody to be different. I don't like having like members of a staff. I want them to be different. I want them to bring something completely different because everybody can specialize in something and be great at it. So that was a big part of that. And Jeff Alexander, and I value his coaching knowledge and wisdom, and he's been perfect in his role. And so it's been something I took a lot of time on. It's something that's very important to me, and they've been great.
Okay, Nico, and then do you have a follow-up, John?
I'm good. I'm good. Thanks, Coach.
Nico, and then David Woods on deck. Go ahead, Nico.
Hey, Coach, when Io committed here, this is the exact moment that he wanted to get to. You've talked a lot about just the way he's always gone about his business. Now that you guys are in the bubble, getting set to tip off the tournament that you've all been waiting a while for, have you noticed any change in his demeanor or attitude at all? Maybe has it somehow been elevated, even though he's kind of always gone about things very professionally?
Yeah, I mean, you don't outwardly notice that with Io. I mean, he's always very matter of fact, very professional. He's I think he's excited. I think he's this is a young man that would probably be a millionaire, had he gone, and he came back for this moment. And that he's going to shine, and that he's built for this. There's nobody I've been around that's probably more built for these opportunities than he is. And yet he doesn't have to be the whole load. He's got a lot of other good players, and there's no doubt in my mind he'll be terrific, and he'll definitely be ready.
Okay, David Woods, you're up, and then Shannon Ryan on deck.
Yes, Coach, you mentioned the pieces of this, but what has the day-to-day been like for you getting to practice? You were at Farmers Coliseum today. Have you had to be in the convention center before? Do you get to practice at Farmers Coliseum tomorrow? And just kind of what the day-to-day has been since you had kind of that rest day on Monday?
Yeah, we were in the convention center yesterday, mid-afternoon, and we got a 2-hour time block over there. That's set up magnificently. I mean, we were shut off. They have all the walls up. I mean, great looking court. They had a couple of treadmills, a couple of bikes right by the court, so guys could run if they wanted to. I mean, it was awesome. It was a great practice venue because it was very private. Obviously, today we had an hour and a half in the Coliseum where we play. Tomorrow we'll be back in the convention center, so we're not in the building we play tomorrow. And but it's been good. They've got a weight room that is accessible if we choose to use it. Adam Fletcher brought a lot of our own weights, so we've got our weight room set up in our meeting room. So we haven't had to utilize that, but it is great looking where they've got it set up so teams can continue to lift and do that. So that part of it has been impeccable.
Okay, Shannon Ryan, you're up, and then Will, go ahead, Shannon.
Yeah, I have some questions about Andre. It's clear, I mean, you've talked about him a lot, but he makes these plays that would probably be just disastrous for a lot of players to even attempt them. And I'm just wondering, how much of his success or getting to this point was his teammates kind of having this process of getting to a point of thinking like, oh my God, this kid can actually make these crazy plays. So I have to adjust or be ready for it and figure out that timing too. I don't know if that makes sense. You can kind of talk through that process.
No, it took a while. I mean, there was a lot of drop balls. There were a lot of balls go sailing by people's heads. There were, he is very unique in his ability to deliver passes and make passes with his body contorted in a lot of different ways, and and off the dribble. So I think everybody now has pretty much said when he's got the ball, they better be looking, and it could come at any point. So he's very, very blessed that way, Shannon, and it took a little bit of reckoning and recognizing and feel and all of that for the other guys to say, hey, I better always be ready. So we're in a pretty good spot with that. And that was, a good part of our turnovers early they weren't bad passes. We just weren't ready for them.
And I mean, following up on that, he says for him, he's kind of got to do things his way a bit. He's kind of got to learn through the process and learn through trials. So is there an element of freedom and trust you have to have with him, when it comes to coaching him or getting the most out of him, that's maybe different, tailoring your coaching to him a little bit?
No doubt. There's no question about that. And he can make plays that are the right play. And that's how I judge things with him. Not if it's a fancy pass that he throws between a defender's legs or it's more is it the right play? And more often than not, he makes the right play, and it might lead to a turnover. And really the only time that I've gotten truly upset with him is when it's every time when he goes, and sometimes you got to find that medium between being the guy who could go make a play every time and then trusting your offense. And early in the year, he got out of that, and he tried to make a play every single time as soon as he touched the ball. And he's grown out of that. And now he plays within the framework great. And yet I know he may turn one over, he may turn two over. But it's usually because they're the right read, and maybe it just didn't work perfect that time.
All right, thanks.
Okay, Will Graves, you're up. Eddie Pell's on deck. Go ahead, Will.
Brett, I appreciate it. I was watching the post-game stuff on Sunday, and you mentioned several times about the culture that you were trying to build when you got there. For somebody that's not around the program, how would you describe it? And I also noticed a couple times you mentioned the EIU game, and thinking about going from there to what you saw on Sunday. As somebody who covered Billy Gillespie at UK when they lost to Gardner Webb the first game, and it never got better, I'm just sort of curious, was there a uh-oh moment in terms of wondering whether you could get to where you got to on Sunday?
Oh, there's been I'd be lying if I said there weren't a lot of uh-oh moments. It's not easy. And I think that's, it's one of the great things I've had with our administration, with Josh Whitman, is a guy who understands and has been patient enough to allow me to get our type of guys. And I have a saying, character over characters. And, that's why, Ayo DeSumo fits. That's why Trent Frazier, DeMonte Williams, Zach Griffin, a guy who's a walk-in. That's why they're still here, because they fit and they're about work. We're a development program. I mean, we've I don't know if we'll ever have a one and done. We may, I don't know, but we have guys who get better. We have guys who go live in the weight room like Ayo DeSumo and put on 30 pounds. We build relationships over time, and they're honest. And guys that come to our program know I'm going to coach them. I'm also going to love them and hug them and get jumped on in the middle of a game like Curbelo did. And that's I think that's the family atmosphere that we talk about, which we have all over our locker room, is we want that culture. But I want to be around really good people. And I don't want to be around guys, and our staff has done an unbelievable job. And does it mean we've turned guys down that are really talented players? Yep, it does. But we've fought really hard for what we've had the last 2 years, and that's a great locker room. And that's been the basis of it. And then the basketball stuff, we've molded around that.
Okay, Eddie Pels is up, then Mike Berman, and then we'll go Brett Barron. Go ahead, Eddie.
Thanks. Coach, this is kind of along the same lines. When you got there, I don't know how you look at things. Did you see yourself kind of recruiting, against other Big Ten programs? Were you just recruiting to try to keep your head above water? What kind of players were you looking? Were you looking at competing against the Big Ten, or were you looking to like being a number one seed? I'm talking at the
No, I don't care who we recruit against. I really don't. If I like somebody and I think he fits what we do, Andres Feliz, great example. I mean, was a junior college player, but he's a winner. And I mean, won a high school championship. He won a junior college national title. He fit exactly what we were looking for, and we needed an experienced player at that time. We've just looked for the right fits, and hey, if they happen to be recruited by a Big Ten school or a Big 12 school or an SEC, great, so be it. I don't ever worry about. I never ask my staff, well, who's recruiting him? I don't. Either I like him and he fits, and we like him where he fits, or we move on. And so that's been the primary thing. I think your first year, I think everybody makes a big mistake in trying to evaluate your first recruiting class. The first recruiting class, you fill scholarships. That's all you do. After that, you start recruiting, and because you build relationships and in the recruiting process. So we've tried to do it for the most part with young high school guys, develop them, get them better, keep them in our program, try to get a little older, which we've finally gotten. But it's been all about fit from our university standpoint and our program standpoint.
When you got there, in your mind, what, if anything, did Illinois basketball mean? I guess that was why you got hired, because they needed it to mean something. But did you have an inkling of what that was?
So every year, at the start of the year, I would ask our team, and it was one of the first things I did when I got the job: who plays the hardest in the league? Who's the hardest playing team in the league? And they would all say Michigan State. Every person just Michigan State. And then it was the start of last year before they finally figured out, or at least they figured out what I wanted to hear. They finally said us. And we had to start believing in that. I had no idea what Illinois basketball was going to stand for in terms of what other people thought of us. And we had to project that out somehow. And, by a team that plays hard, a team that is connected, a team that is going to execute. And that's what we've tried to be, is a tough-minded team that executes and is really connected and inseparable.
Okay, we'll go to Mike Berman and then Brett Behrens. Go ahead, Mike.
Hey, Brad, really important question since you mentioned Netflix. What's your go-to, or what's been the team's go-to Netflix to kick back and relax since you've been there?
Well, I'm actually on round number 2 of Peaky Blinders. So I don't know what the guys are watching, but I'm a big fan. I watched it once a couple years ago. Now I'm back on it.
All right, I've heard good things. I'll have to check it out.
It's good. It's good.
You mentioned you've talked since January, that whole idea about, once we get to the tournament, you got 6 games. We want to win all 6. And you guys clearly, have on that one line a chance to do it, and you've got the talent, but it's not easy to do. And I'm just wondering, how do you approach, now being here at the tournament, talking with the guys about that mindset, balancing wanting it so bad, but also, making sure you take one game at a time and doing everything, I guess, the best you can to try and give yourself the best chance to cut down the nets.
Yeah, it's literally the same focus goes on the first game as it would the last. And we've really simplified it that way. I told our team, everybody here is good. Everybody here is worthy of being here, and they've won games. They know how to win. Drexel knows how to win. They've just won 4 in a row. They just won their conference tournament, just like we did. And so don't undervalue that. And then the other thing is, they want it just as bad as we do. Nobody wants it any more than anybody else. I mean, we're all trying to fight for something that's only one of us can have. And yet, it comes down to effort. It comes down to mental approach. It comes down to toughness, and really, it's that simple. Taking things one day at a time and one game at a time.
Okay, Brett Behrens, you're up, and then we'll go back Scott Ritchie, and we'll keep asking or answering questions until we run out of time here.
Brad, you've said all year you think Io deserves National Player of the Year. He's named that today by USA Today. I'm curious what it means to you to have a National Player of the Year on your team.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. It's phenomenal. I couldn't be happier. I told the team at practice, Derek let us know at practice, and you love seeing good things happen to good people, and you love I live by the adage, good things happen to those who work hard. And no one's worked harder than Io. And also, along with that, the team success. You don't get individual success without the team. So everybody was fired up when I told the team, and it was the first Io had heard of it, and it's a pretty special moment. There's only one of those two, and there's a lot of people playing basketball, and that young man is very worthy. He's had a phenomenal year, and very deserving of that award.
I know you talked, about how you're going to handle the NCAA tournament, but are there things that you remember from Oklahoma State or Stephen F. about the tournament in particular that maybe you would file away somewhere that you can go back on now and say, I want to make sure I remember that?
I want to make sure that everybody enjoys it, and because it passes so fast. The day, nobody here in our bubble knows what day it is. We're just kind of, we move along, and there's such a singular focus, and yet you've got to be able to understand the little things, to understand, it's amazing. Most players, their best moments in their life happen in the NCAA tournament. And whether it was eating St. Elmo's shrimp cocktail and watching the horseradish burn the heck out of people, or whether it was watching Kofi put on a soccer clinic last night in our media room. I mean, all those things are neat and they're unique. And guys, I want guys to understand how important that is. The games take care of themselves. Everybody remembers that, but it's all the other stuff you do as a unit and as a team that I want these guys to enjoy and remember.
Thanks.
Okay, Scott Ritchie, and then David Woods on deck, and Shannon Ryan in the hole. Go ahead, Scott.
I suppose just to check, I think there were 7 positives out of like 6,900 cases in Indy. How you guys okay?
Yeah, they haven't told us otherwise. I didn't know there were 7, so you're ahead of me.
Okay, thanks.
All right, David Woods, you're up. Shannon Ryan on deck.
Hey, Coach, I got to think about this when you talked about recruiting process. What did you see in Luke Goody to land him? Not too many players out of the state of Indiana end up crossing the border.
Well, one, he's smart. I'm just kidding there, but he's a. We were looking for a big wing. We needed a young man with size, and a guy who could really shoot it and stretch the floor. And not only does he do that, he's a really good hard shot maker. And he's not just a step-in guy. He can come off screens. And he's been a guy that fit perfectly what we're trying to do in terms of his personality, his work ethic. We think he fits perfect into our culture.
Of course, his team was undefeated till the last game. I suppose the winning
that helps a lot.
That probably influenced you too.
That helps a lot, and that's one of the other things that we set out to do. I mean, everybody on our team's won. We don't have guys from losing programs. Everybody has won, and I don't want to, not to say I would, but I don't like to take guys from losing programs.
Hey, Shannon Ryan, you're up, and then we'll go back and catch up with Joey and Alec. Go ahead, Shannon.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, I was just wondering, I think like one of the maybe brightest moments of the Big Ten tournament or most talked about was Georgie and Kofi's post-game presser, which was pretty hilarious. But one thing in it that kind of stood out was that, or maybe it got passed over, but they talked a little about just how they shared in each other's cultures as, guys who live together and teammates. And I know international players, it's nothing new in college basketball, but I'm just wondering, you do have a lot of guys from different countries and they seem to really embrace that. And what have you learned about Georgia and Jamaica and Puerto Rico and all kinds of places? And I don't know, can that be an example to people as well?
Oh, I don't think there's any doubt. That's one of the beautiful things about the connectivity of our team, and whether it was Georgie knows I enjoy a glass of wine. And he calls it grape juice. And yet a year ago he brings me back a bottle of wine from Georgia. And and Curbelo runs around here all the time with his Puerto Rican shirt on, and you could see how proud they are. And it's Kofi from Jamaica, and it's Kofi's an unbelievable cook. He loves to cook Jamaican dishes for guys on the team. And it's really interesting. It's really fun to hear those guys talk and interact and talk with each other about whether it's the food they eat or what they do on a Friday night. It's fun to learn a lot about those different places of the world that guys from the States don't know anything about.
Okay, we got time for just one more question before Trent's about ready. Joey, we'll go ahead and let you wrap it up.
Hey, Brad, I wanted to follow one more thing about Tyler. I think we've talked before, like in a normal coaching carousel, he probably is a GA spot, maybe somewhere else right now. And like, this is a pretty unique opportunity for him to be a player, but also look behind the curtain a little bit into this coaching world and work with some of those guys. How beneficial is that to him? Because this obviously doesn't happen to a lot of people.
Yeah, he gets the best of both worlds. And, I really challenged him at the start of the year to learn the profession. Not just you know the game, you get to play it, you get to see it every day, but you've got to learn the profession, and you've got to learn, you've got to find out if okay, as soon as the game's over and your buddies go do something or go eat or whatever it is, and it's been different this year. You got to go cut tape and you got to go help grade it out. And you need to learn how to do that. And you need to see if you like that. And if you can adapt to the grind of this profession. And, he's done yeoman's work with it, and he's fun. I pick his brain a lot just to see how he's thinking. It might not be relevant to anything that is up and coming, but I want to see how he's thinking, what he's thinking about, what he sees in a practice or whatever the situation is. But he's been very fortunate this year with that.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Coach. I think Trent's standing by, so we'll appreciate that. And good luck tomorrow. We'll see you after the game.
Let's wait till Friday.
Or tomorrow. I guess today's only Wednesday. Sorry, I'm a day. I don't even know what day it is, Coach.
You're just like me, Kent.